Or it was kind of just the he said, she said stuff. But now, since the judge has said that it's okay for WFG to start doing discovery, they're allowed to start getting the information they need. If you remember, the last one we were talking about the temporary restraining order for Eric didn't get approved. He felt like there wasn't enough evidence to really start tailoring Eric's freedom of speech. So he also granted them the ability to start doing discovery. So these are the pages that we're going to be going through as far as discovery goes. This is the information that WFG wants. I don't know some of these people, so if, as we read it off, if you put it into the chat, that'd be a huge help for me because I don't know who these guys are. But basically, they're asking for interrogatories. They want documents and phone records and everything else. So they're trying to gather information now. And that's going to be part one. Part two is going to be Olson's objection to that, and they want to do some of their own discovery. So they want information from WFG that they don't have. We'll see what the judge has to say about that. And then also in these documents, I found Eric Olson's termination letter. So if we have time to get into that, we'll do all three of those. And so we've got a lot to go through. It's a lot of different documents that kind of having to sort through. But I think it's going to be important to understand what WFG wants to see and what they're asking for, and also who they're going to subpoena, whose testimony they want, and then what the Olsons are asking for. So we're going to cover all three of those today. We got a lot of work to do, so let's go ahead and get into it. So let's hop into this first one. This is going to be what WFG is asking for. So we'll pull this up. All right. So this is going to be discovery, and you can tell that this is what they're asking for. Okay. And then we'll go through and see what the judge actually has to say about it. And maybe you guys can help me with some of these guys that are involved in it. So basically what WFG is going to start asking for, this is the short one. This is the main bullet point that they're going to allow the judge to make a reference to whether it gets approved or not. So they found that there's good cause that exists to permit WFG to a limited expedited discovery. So now they basically need to tell the judge what exactly it is that they want to see, and then the judge will either approve or deny that. So they're looking for specific document requests, interrogatories, third-party witness subpoenas. Those are all going to be issued now, and this is assuming that he grants it. So they have 4 interrogatories to propound on the defendants Eric and Sandra Olson. They have 4 requests for production of documents on the defendants. They also have a deposition notices to serve the defendants in their individual depositions, so they want to hear what they have to say about it. They have 3 third-party subpoenas, so these are going to be requests from particular people that they want to either bring them into the office or get some kind of statement from them as far as what they were involved with and what was said and done. And those people are going to be the people of GFI, because remember, they still don't know who all is involved in that company. Manuel Volley, I don't know, do you guys know that guy? I don't know who he is. And then also Hillary Azaz, I did look both of them up. I believe they were with WFG. I don't know if they moved over or they just got prospected and they want their testimony. But anyway, if you guys know who they are, throw that in the chat. I'd love to know. Each of which is witnesses likely to have information pertaining to this action, and the deposition of GFI shall be governed by this particular rule. Defendants and third-party witnesses are ordered to respond to WFG with written discovery within 5 days of service. So we should be getting this within the next couple days, maybe on Monday, or otherwise agreed. Defendants and third-party witnesses must sit for their depositions within 5 days of service of discovery responses to WFG. So this is what they're submitting to the judge. We will get to whether he actually accepted that or not. So let's get into the discovery documents and see exactly what it is that WFG wants. Okay, so this is the plaintiffs asking for interrogatories to defendants Eric Olson. We're going to kind of skip through this. This first section is just kind of going through definitions, and it's pretty long, but the reason why they kind of do this is they don't want to get into a situation, if you guys remember what was going on with Clinton, right? And he's like, well, what is your definition of sexual relationship, right? It's like, okay, now we got to describe everything. So this is kind of the hope with all of these definitions, so that they don't get into it. Well, what did you mean? What's the definition of is? Do we know what that is? And so they're trying to go through and do all of the terms so they can understand what exactly they mean with the words that they have. And this goes on for a few pages. And it's going to be in all of them. So we're just going to kind of skip that from here on out and get into the actual information of what they're asking for. So what do they want in these interrogatories? So number one, we want you to identify all current and former GFI insurance agents, including the date in when they first became insurance agents of GFI. And the reason why this is going to be important is because, remember, they're saying that they have 4,000 or 5,000 agents. One of the other papers we saw was 15, but I think that's got to be wrong. So they want to see what's going on, how many people have moved over. So if we know the date when they joined GFI and the date when they joined WFG, it gives us a good glimpse into what's going on. Because I think they just posted up something about 5,000 agents in the first 7 weeks. And so obviously some of these guys have to be coming over from WFG. So they want to know about those. Also, we want you to identify all confidential information or property that you or persons affiliated with you have retained since your departure from WFG, and identify any persons with whom you have shared any such confidential information or property with. So what do you have? Did you keep leaders' bulletins? Do you have a, I don't know, they were talking about possibly if they printed off something from the leaders' bulletin that shows who's doing the best. Is this like your hit list of the people that you're going to go and contact? Did you retain all of that stuff? What other confidential information do you have? Also, WFG would like the identity and communications and statements that you or persons affiliated with you or GFI concerning WFG. So what were people saying about WFG when you left? Its future ability to stay in business, its compensation structure, its opportunities. What was actually said in your departure? Were you prospecting people from WFG? Were you trying to recruit them over? Were you saying stuff about the compensation structure? Were you saying that the opportunity is not good? Were you saying that WFG is going out of business and that's why you're creating this new company? What exactly was said and done when you were leaving? Also, the fourth thing that they want in these interrogatories is they want you to identify any customers with whom you previously worked while engaged with an insurance agent of WFG, or whom you or any one of your downline have had communications with since you or your downline left WFG, and state the nature and contents of these communications. So this goes back to the topic that we were talking about earlier with, are these guys going in and actually churning this business over? Because we saw one of their posts that in their first 4 weeks, they had done almost 1,100 pieces of business with one company. I don't know if they work with multiple ones, but I think they were saying they sent about 1,100 policies within that first month. So then the question became, are they churning those clients? Are they taking clients that they had previously, telling them to cancel those policies? Or their agents who have policies, are they canceling all of those and then rewriting that with the new company? So those are some questions that we had raised and people had raised before. So is that happening? Because they want to know about that, because that can be an issue as far as, because churning is actually illegal. You're not allowed to do that with your clients. So were you approaching your clients, or were your downline approaching other clients and saying, hey, we want you to cancel your policies and then rewrite it with this other company? Maybe saying derogatory things about previous policies they have. The challenge is that's normally bad for the client. A lot of these policies, your IULs, your annuities, you don't want to cancel them in the early years because that's where most of the expenses and that's where you get nothing back. So if they're rewriting these policies, A, that's hurting the clients, and B, you're not allowed to do that. So that could become an issue into the future as well. So they want to know all of these things. Okay. The next thing that they want to get into is they want requests for production of documents to the defendant, Eric Olson. Okay. So again, they're going to start off with all of the definitions. There's a lot to go through here. You can read that if you want. All of this stuff that's basically describing what they mean with the words that they use, so they don't have to get into a back and forth of this is what I meant when I said this. So request for production. They want all documents and communications relating to or evidencing the creation of GFI and its independent contractor agreement and its registration. We also want all of the documents and communications relating to your use or possession of confidential information or property, including but not limited to its compensation structure, hierarchies, and contracts with providers. Meaning, were you using your WFG connections to get with those product providers? What were you telling them? What promises did you make with them potentially? And then I think they're still trying to get into the confidential information about, using WFG's proprietary system, I guess, even though almost everybody's copied it at this point, so I don't know how well that's going to stand up. But they still want those documents if they have them. So they're also going to request all documents and communications reflecting all statements you made or caused to be made about WFG, its compensation, its business practices, its financial viability, its opportunities, its leadership, and its independent contractors. Because this all goes back to the disparaging statements in that, again, there's nothing wrong with Eric starting another company. He's even allowed to recruit WFG agents if he wants to. He's just not allowed to go in and make disparaging comments and basically kind of threaten people or tell them that WFG is falling apart and that it's not going to exist in a couple of years and all the leadership's leaving. And I've seen all of that stuff all over social media, so we know that to be true. You just can't do that part. And so a lot of people are getting caught up in this, well, he's not doing anything wrong. Well, you're kind of right. You're allowed to go start another company. There's no non-compete that we've seen to this point that WFG has. It just has a non-solicitation. You're not supposed to go back and recruit agents and business from the previous company if you're going to go start a new one, which it seems like they've been doing. So that's what they want information on. They also want all the documents, communications reflecting or evidence your or persons on your behalf communicating with current WFG insurance agents. So are your guys still trying to recruit WFG agents? And I've gotten reports from quite a few people saying that they still have people that are going over that have been recruited from even other hierarchies. So it's not even Eric Olson's people. They're going in and recruiting anybody that they've had contact to, and this is what WFG referenced before. So WFG does these big events where everybody can go. They do things called like elite circles where you can go in and do training. There's supposed to be this camaraderie where you can go and train in other offices. They get to hear from different people. Maybe they relate to somebody else. But then what happens, and how Eric kind of abused the system, or this is what they're saying in the documents, is that then those people who were training in these other offices would get their people's phone numbers, somebody from another hierarchy, and now they're recruiting those agents that weren't even their own agents. They're recruiting it from other people's offices. And I've seen several instances of that already, of people who have come and told me about people leaving, which is interesting because they're claiming that WFG is doing the wrong thing, right? They're saying, oh, well, WFG is not taking care of their people. They're not taking care of spouses and widows. But then they're literally going in and taking the team from those same exact spouses and widows that they're saying WFG isn't taking care of and pulling them over, rewriting policies and taking their agents. And now somehow they're trying to be the good guys when they're doing the literal things that they're saying that WFG is supposedly doing. So I don't quite understand how that works and how you can be on both sides of that, but that's kind of what we're seeing. So it's interesting. All right, and insurance agents, their spouses. Are you talking to the spouses of insurance agents or their family members concerning GFI, or possibly becoming affiliated of part of GFI? So it seems like in the testimony that I've gotten from people is that they are coming in and they're still recruiting people from WFG that aren't even people that they had previously recruited. So they're not just taking the people that they had, which maybe could be understandable. Maybe there's an argument to make there in saying, well, you want ownership. Well, some of these people are coming with me. A lot of times they'll allow some of that to happen. It's really how you do it on your way out. But it seems like they're going in and basically trying to raid all of WFG and get as many people as they can over, which leads to that same question that we keep asking. Is Eric Olson just trying to become a billionaire, or is he actually trying to make a better company that's got a better way of servicing its agents, and that's still what we're trying to discover. All right, so let's get into the next one. So the next one is that they're going to be doing subpoenas. They want to subpoena global financial impact. Again, we got all those definitions that we're going to be skipping, and we're going to see what exactly it is that they want. So they want all documents and communications reflecting confidential information or property in your possession, custody, or control. All documents, communications reflecting the creation of your compensation and hierarchy structures. All documents concerning policies, procedures, practices regarding the creation and use of firewalls. So if you don't know what a firewall is, allegedly Eric Olson was having people do non-disclosures and firewalls. So basically, when you came in to talk to him or one of the agents that he's recruited over, they would hand you a non-disclosure form, which basically said that you're not allowed to talk about anything of that conversation that you had there. And then once they recruited you over, they would have you sign a piece of paper that says, we didn't solicit you, we never talked to you about GFI, that if you're leaving WFG, you're responsible for any of those issues. We read that firewall earlier. And so basically, GFI is taking no responsibility for how you found out about GFI or any of the discouraging things that were said about WFG to make you move over. You're basically waiving all of your rights to discuss any of that stuff or blame anything on GFI. So they want to know what those firewalls actually were. What were those forms that you were having people fill out? Also, who filled them out? And so, because this can cause an agent who moved over and maybe they found out things later. So let's say Eric came to you and he said, okay, Rich Thawley's moving, WFG's falling apart, it's not going to be in a company in a couple of years. All the leadership is moving. We've got all these people that are backing you. You're going to not have to worry about any of the lawsuits behind it because we've got people who are paying for all of this stuff. And then you come to find out all of those things are not true after you've already moved over. Well, now you've signed NDAs and firewalls, basically alleviating the Olsons and GFI from any of that responsibility. So now maybe you've lost all of your income, you've lost your agents, you've lost your clients, and now you're in GFI and you can't really do anything about it because you've signed all of these documents to get there. They want to know what those are and who signed them. So this is going to be interesting because a lot of you guys were saying that they won't even allow the WFG agents to come back. I think they have to wait it out 2 years. So what do you do if you were, a lot of these guys were making over $1 million a year, a lot of them over $500,000 a year. So if you leave all that behind and your team doesn't end up coming with you and you lose all that income, I don't know what you do at that point. So they also want all documents and communications reflecting recruiting and communication efforts with current and former GFI agents. So the company GFI, or WFG, the company GFI, were you guys communicating to recruit, and what were your efforts with talking to other GFI agents? Okay, topics for examination. So these are some of the questions that they want to ask them. Terms have been used previously. They want to know about the creation of GFI, including its membership and registration. They want to know the facts concerning the financing of GFI, including corporate banking. Like, who was it that stepped up and said, hey, we will finance all of this for you, all of the lawsuits that you're going to go through, everything that's going to happen. Who's paying for that? As of right now, all of these people are unnamed. They don't know who that is yet. That's part of why they think they filed in Wyoming, so that they could hide all of that stuff, because that's not, you don't have to disclose it apparently in Wyoming, I guess. So the facts concerning the creation of GFI's compensation structure, including its source and comparison. So how are you comparing that to WFG? The facts concerning the creation of GFI's hierarchy, including those carried over from WFG. So how did you create those hierarchies? Were you enticing people over? Because this is where I think most of Eric's income is going to come from up front. Because if you can think of, if you understand the layers of it, the further somebody's down, the less he makes from them. So if there's somebody who's down here, or maybe even not in his hierarchy, and he brings them direct, well, that increases his income dramatically. So he can basically bring all of his top guys direct to him if he's redoing these hierarchies, which becomes another question that Bosley brought up. He said, well, are you going to respect the hierarchies when they come over? and there was mixed answers on that of whether they were going to do that or not. So he can basically rearrange that whole organization however he feels. So if he likes you, he can put agents under you. If he doesn't, then he doesn't. He can kind of rearrange all of that, and they want to know how that worked out. GFI's efforts to communicate with current WFG insurance agents, including training directed to these agents through the use of social media to recruit, targeted emails, text messages, and phone calls. So somebody probably must have tipped them off on these things. Are they targeting? This is what part of what they're talking about with that confidential information. So if you have information of all these agents and their email addresses, and you're purposefully targeting them with emails, text messages, and phone calls to recruit these guys over, they want to know all about that coming from GFI's standpoint. Okay, then what we get to see, and they're going to repeat that. Oh, and then this one's also going to be sent to Manuel. Again, I don't know who that is. I don't know if anybody knows, and you can put that in the chat. I'd love to know who Manuel is. And so they're going to be asking Manuel some questions. Let's see. They want all the documents reflecting communications with Eric and Sandra Olson or any insurance agents of GFI regarding leaving WFG and joining GFI. They want all documents and communications from him relating to your use of possession of confidential information, property, including but not limited to WFG's compensation hierarchy and contacts product providers. They also want from him all the documents and communications reflecting statements you made or caused to be made regarding WFG, its compensation, business practice, financial liabilities. So I don't know if Manuel went over. I don't know if anybody knows that, but if he went over, they want to know, okay, well, what are you saying? Are you repeating the same stuff to recruit these people over? Are you talking about WFG falling apart? Are you talking about that all the leadership's going to be gone? It's not going to be there. They want to know those things, okay? They're also going to request all the documents, communications relating or evidence your persons or behalf of communications with current WFG insurance agents. Are you still talking to your people to recruit them over, their spouses or family members concerning GFI and possibly becoming affiliated or part of GFI? They want all that information. And then the subpoena also to Hillary Azza, and again, I don't know who that guy is. Apparently it is a guy, I believe he's a doctor. I think he's at, was he the one that was at like 1.6 million? I just did a quick search on Google and I found it. So I don't know if he moved over as well, and so they're going to be subpoenaing him. So let's kind of scroll down. Let's see what they want. It's probably the same stuff. Yep, we want communications that you had with Eric and Sandra regarding leaving WFG. What did they say about it? They want any documentation and communication relating your use of potential confidential information. We also want all documents, communications reflecting your statements you made or caused to be made regarding WFG, its compensation, business practice, financial viability, its opportunities and leadership. Again, one of the big things they were saying, Cofield kind of headed this particular one up, was about the spouses not being able to be paid, and all this stuff that we've kind of played some other videos on. You can go see those, where he was saying things that weren't necessarily true. Now, maybe he saw other stuff that I haven't heard of or haven't seen, but the information that I'm finding was that specific one that he mentioned was not actually true. We watched that whole video together. You can go see that as well. All documents, communications reflecting or evidence on you or your persons on behalf of communicating with current WFG insurance agents, their spouses, family members, or possibly becoming affiliated with GFI. So I don't know if those two guys moved over, or maybe they were just prospected into moving over, but apparently that's something that WFG wants to find out as well. Okay, so we've got all of those separate motions. The for asking for expedited discovery, we talked about them wanting to do the interrogatories. We talked about them wanting to get documents. Oh, I think I might have missed one. Oh, they're just asking for documents from Sandra as well, so that one's the same. We don't need to go through that. They want documents, and then they also want the subpoenas to go out and question those so that they can get more information of what's going on there. And so they turned all of that into the judge on the 23rd, I believe it was. So the 23rd, and then the judge came back. This was written on the 26th, and the judge is going to give his opinion on that. And so when he came back, he said that this is no longer a proposed He's actually order granting the plaintiff's motion for expedited discovery. So he approves with getting this information. On 2022, the court found good cause that existed to permit WFGs to actually be able to do expedited discovery. This is the one that we read at the beginning. He's just agreeing with this. So yes to the 4 interrogatories, yes to the 4 requests of production of documents, yes to the deposition notices, and yes to the third-party subpoenas, which is going to include GFI, Manuel Valli, and Hilary Azaz, if I'm saying that correctly. And the only thing that he changed on that was that if the court had any other questions or needed guidance, that they could come to him and see that. So that was approved. So this is really where it starts to get fairly interesting, in that they're going to be giving up a lot of this information. So we're going to get to see behind the scenes of what was actually going on. How were they targeting WFG agents if they were? How were they targeting clients if they were? So it's going to give a good insight, I think, especially for if you're on the WFG side. It's going to give you a pretty good insight to what's been happening behind the scenes and what's going on. And that, I think, is important, because the question has always been about who's doing the right thing and who is not. And so that's kind of what we're trying to evaluate. Was WFG actually in the wrong? Were they messing with a lot of these programs? Were they doing the wrong thing as far as taking care of their agents? Were they not giving them the proper ownership that they deserved? And these are all things that Eric kind of brought up. And so we've got to discover who's really telling the truth. As far as we've seen so far, at least as far as I feel, a lot of the lies that we're seeing are coming from Eric. And so that's why I originally was excited to hear what he had to say, because he's kind of got this deck stacked against him. So I was hoping that he had some great insight to some of these things, but what we're seeing that's kind of being repeated in GFI hasn't really come to fruition. I haven't seen a lot of it. So if anybody has it, please send it to me. I would love to know about this stuff if there's actual things that are going on there. All right, so that's part one in looking at what they're asking for. Now, basically, the day that came out, I think Eric and Sandra were ready for it. So they decided to then go in and actually dispute it. So they want to stop this discovery from happening. So basically, that's what we're going to look at next, is their documents and what they were filing. And then also Eric wants to do some discovery of WFG. He says, hey, you guys have information that we need for our case, so we would like to know about these particular things. We haven't seen the judge approve them yet. I think they just got filed a day or two ago. So we'll see what the judge has to say about that, but we don't have that information yet. So, oh, and then this is, if you're on the WCG side, you'll think this is funny, but if you're on GFI, you probably won't. I was going to use this meme originally. I don't know if I should use it or not, but I thought it was kind of funny. I felt like when they were asking the documents, it was